Hi everybody, Rick Rosen here from the BRRRR Thrive team, and be sure to visit our website at www.brrrthrive.com to be able to see our past podcasts. As a matter of fact, this is going to be our fourth podcast, and we're going to be touching back on a very important subject, and that is, as a real estate investor, the construction aspect of your investment is probably one of the hardest ones to manage. At podcast 2, we had the benefit of having our esteemed licensed builder, Sam Taleb from Sterling Heights, Michigan, to be able to come back again today and be able to touch on this next segment, which is going to really cover some major issues that we're all facing as real estate investors on how to get the most out of our renovation dollars. I'm going to start off, Sam, with the first question is, and I get asked this like all the time, what would you consider the top 3 considerations for renovations? What area would you put your money in the most? Could you tell us what the top 3 would be in your book?
Yeah, of course. Thank you, Rick. It's an excellent question. And it all comes down to your return of investment and where would you put your money. I would say the top 3 are definitely most important is the curb appeal, so that's your frontage of the house.
Okay.
And that's in terms of landscaping, trees, and the frontage of the house. And then 2 is the kitchen, of course, and then bathrooms.
What's interesting is the first one that you brought up, the landscaping. As a lender on these investments, I usually find that many times the investor omits any budget at all for the landscaping or anything special to be done to the outside of the house in the front. And that is probably one of the more impact areas. So all you listening out there, make sure to put a few dollars away for some landscaping on your property.
Yeah, of course. I've read an article once that said when you have a prospective buyer that comes in to look at this particular property or tenant, they have about 30 seconds to look before they decide if they want it or not. You have to decide as soon as they leave their car, what are they seeing? They can't wait until they see the most high efficiency furnace you have. No, it's what are they going to see as soon as they get out of their car.
You talked about that first impression, and now you're inside the house, okay? They liked the outside enough that they said, yes, let's go and see the inside. And so what do you think the next focal point that they're going to really take a hard look at when they come into the home? What part of the house?
Yeah, kitchen is really important in terms of for the house and as far as aesthetics. And it's really not about the cost that you're putting in. Of course, you have to break the budget down and decide what will you be spending. But it's not about the number that you're spending, what you do with it. Can be small details that really don't cost much, but make big difference as far as like maybe hardware for the cabinets or backsplash or changing the kitchen faucet should maybe not a full renovation, the kitchen is needed.
So we were talking outside this earlier today about one of the things that you like to do is you like to do a survey of finishes so that when you go to plan your budget, you can see what level of finishes you need to be at. So a lot of times, also with your realtor background, you could go to the multiple listing service, and many times the more recent sales, they still have the interior pictures posted, right?
Yes.
And so that gives you an idea what level of finishes, like for the kitchen and flooring and what have you, right?
Yeah, it's really good to see what's out there, not just plan everything out from scratch, because seeing what else is on the market that you will be competing against or listing through, it's a good idea to know what's the market like. Even it gives you an idea about trending renovations, what are they doing, what could you maybe not have to do, so you could save yourself some money too.
One of the things that was posted about this particular episode is a lot of investors, when they go to set up their construction budget, a lot of times they overspend on areas that are not needed because they're looking at it as if they were going to live in the house themselves. That's the basis of that. So a lot of times they're going to break the bank because when they go into, say, the kitchen, they have a expensive kitchen where they live now, and they want to have this kitchen on their renovation project look almost as nice, right? You're thinking about you have to make the home look as nice as the one that you're living at, you could end up breaking your bank because you may be overspending on the improvements to the house. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying earlier, is that it's always good to do a survey of what level of finish is the competition's at.
Yeah, very important that when the budget numbers she's broken up, because you don't want to just spend or halfway through your projects, you've already exhausted the budget you had, but yet you still have important items. One, establish the numbers, but then also take those numbers and translate them into materials and labor costs. So it's not enough to say, okay, I want to spend $8,000 for my kitchen, but it's actually, I want to use that $8,000 for 2,500 towards cabinets, 1,500 towards granite, and maybe something towards a stove, something towards backsplash. And that number doesn't work. You have to make the compromises now. You can't just wait until you demo the kitchen and then say, okay, I could have saved the kitchen. No, then that's when you start. And some items really will make a difference, such as, like I just mentioned earlier, the hardware and knobs, kitchen faucet, putting a backsplash, maybe just changing the top and painting the cabinets. But those things, when knowing the area and knowing the other listings will help, but also breaking it down and working with a good, really good general contractor definitely will.
Then they kind of brings me to the next thing is, especially with my newer investors, they don't really understand exactly how the relationship with their general contractor works. So they get an estimate for the renovation. And I'll tell you, sometimes the initial estimate will say, renovate this particular address, okay? And it'll have $1 amount at the bottom, but it doesn't have anything broken out. It doesn't say like kitchen, new cabinets, new countertop, new sink, new faucets. It doesn't have everything broken down. So that's probably one of the things you're going to want to do is when you're getting together with your general contractor is each aspect of the renovation, you're going to want to get everything broken down to what you can expect that you're going to get. Because it's like when you're watching, especially at Christmas time, they have all these commercials about the toys. And you might see like a superhero flying, okay, but you're not going to get the city down below all the buildings and stuff as part of the set. And so a lot of times the kids are disappointed because all there is the action figure wearing his cape and then it's it. So same thing with us investors is that as our project is going, we have your materials not that defined that well, and you're working with your general contractor and he says, yeah, come see your finished kitchen. And you're looking at it and you go, I thought you were going to replace all of the hardware. I thought we're talking about that. So these are things that you can't just are going to happen. You have to reduce it into your contract, correct?
Just like building a puzzle, you're the beginning, you're looking at the completed picture. The more pieces you're putting down, the more clear it will look.
And then the other thing we touched on at our last conversation we had at podcast number 2 is the fact that there's unexpected things that can happen. And we talked about the importance of having, especially when you're first starting off, a contingency budget for things that come out of nowheres, because you cannot look with X-ray vision like Superman can in the walls to see what's wrong with the house. And then as you're doing the initial work, say that your plumber is there and maybe he's putting in some new flex piping from the service to the whatever needs to go to the sink or the dishwasher. And he notices that the water is not getting to the flex piping as good as it should. Maybe there's galvanized pipes that lead to it. And maybe the room's 40 or 50 years old and they're starting to have cholesterol. When you look at the pipe and you pull out one of those old pipes, it's supposed to be round and totally hollow on the inside. Many times you look at it, you wonder how the water even gets through it because of all of this degradation of the pipe itself. Water's having a hard time to flow through. And obviously your water pressure gets reduced too.
Of course, of course.
So these are things that sometimes you find out while you're in midstream that you just didn't plan it.
That's why it's really important to start planning early. That's why we advised on podcast too, the importance of having a really good general contractor at the beginning, but also letting them not just ballpark it, but actually trade professional. It's possible to have a plumber right at the beginning. Go check it out. There's a way to have your sewer scoped. That's really important.
Yep. So we're going to go into our part 2 of our conversation. So we're going to focus on the do-it-yourself. You see all these commercials yourself, and we're not against that, but we want to talk about the difference between hiring a professional general contractor and doing yourself. What kind of things that you need to really consider, and do you really truly save money by doing it yourself, or could you actually end up costing you more money in the long run? Okay, so we're going to talk about that. Can you think of, like, offhand where you ran into a do-it-yourselfer that needed to hire you because he got to a certain point where you didn't know which way to turn?
Yes. Sadly, many times this backfiring instead of working for an investor. Definitely a lot of positive in having that spirit of a go-getter. I want to go and do it and accomplish it. And it's not just about saving money, but it's the pride of getting it done. However, many times, especially at the beginning, investors underestimate the workload of having to do the work that's needed. And sometimes, just Rick was saying earlier, so people look at it from the bird's eye view. So from the top, it's okay, maybe it's not that complicated to do 1,200 square foot of flooring. I can do it all. I just watch a couple of videos of YouTube and it seems really easy. But then turns out they don't have the proper tools. They don't have any helper. They have to start right from the beginning. Taking out the flooring, leveling out the flooring, and putting the padding, and then taking out the trim and back the trim and proper cuts when it comes to corners and wastage and all that. And they halfway through, it turns out there's some small details that flooring a professional who's been doing it for 10, 15 years, not only they would have done the job in a day or two, where the investor, if he was doing it, he wasn't doing it properly, but also they missed critical points. And now you got to take out the flooring and start from the beginning because spacing between each line has to be proper. And sadly, they just wasted all that materials.
One of the things that is overlooked by the do-it-yourselfer is that sometimes there's an inspection process that's involved with either rentals or if you're going to flip the home. So if you're going to flip the home, there's a good possibility that the home buyer is going to hire a home inspector.
Yes.
And if the installation of whatever was being installed was done improperly, the home inspector is going to red tag it, so to speak, with the home buyer and say, these things need to be fixed before you buy this house, right?
Fortunately, it has always not worked for as long as I have been in the industry helping other investors. And has been numerous times when I get a call just the other week. Investor calls me, says he got red tagged because city came and they saw he has done electrical work on the property. Now they need him to have a licensed electrician. But then just about every licensed electrician that he called, they don't want to deal with because now they're going to be responsible for the work that he did. So,
Right.
So they'll have to undo what he did and they can do it again and apply for a permit. And most likely, the city's not going to be very happy about that. And he just opened himself to a lot of liability. Imagine selling somebody else, who just pay you hundreds of thousands. Then just to find out you didn't wire this outlet properly, and over a couple of months it started heating up and it could have caused maybe a minor fire or something more major.
So if we're looking at project as a rental, today most communities require city inspection to certify your rental. And sometimes some of the states offer subsidies to their tenants. Like a lot of working mothers might be on jobs that are not high paying, so they might be subsidized by the state through special programs that they have, but they also have special inspections that they do. And so when these inspections take place, you may have as many as 8 different inspectors coming out, one from each department that's involving the building department, to make sure that the home is safe for the tenant, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we were talking about electrical. It doesn't stop there. They look for safety issues too. Many times they may have requirements for carbon monoxide sensors, smoke detectors. Some communities require them to be hardwired as well as battery operated. And other communities will allow you to go battery operated. So not knowing what the rules are, because you're more than likely again done one of these projects before, where maybe you didn't even put in the carbon monoxide sensor and you get knocked down once you have your inspection. So that's why you're going to probably lose on 1 or 2 months worth of rent because you were doing it yourself, whereas you could hire a professional and you would have been collecting the rent.
Yeah, it's really important to, again, work with a general contractor because they should know from the pattern of things that are typically asked for, which is just like you mentioned, smoke detectors, trip hazards, furnace certifications, GFI outlets where 6 feet, 6 feet near water, all those no exposed plugs or outlets. Those things are very typical with any rental property, should it be a government sponsored program or not. Really important if you are going to be offering any of those programs, ask. Best thing you do is ask, do you guys have a list of things that you look for during your inspections? And then go over those lists. And you become your property's inspector and really go with the microscope. Because the whole point is for you not to be liable and to protect the tenants that are there. Things are not punishments. They are actually a blessing because they help you avoid something that affects somebody's life.
So a lot of times, if you do have some good practical experience, maybe you're a really good painter. And so you might ask your general contractor, would you mind if I kind of team up with you? I'm going to need a lot of the paint. Would that be something that you would consider?
Yeah, definitely. There's nothing wrong with you assessing your skills and knowing where you in the project. And a good general contractor will definitely let you pick what you need, what you want to do. You have to communicate them properly and you have to be good at doing it because your general contractor, if you are going to be painting, he expects to treat you like a professional painter, which means the trade that will come before you, they will prepare the job for you. And then after you, whoever is coming, they expect you to be done with the job. They don't want to see paintbrushes on the floor or things that are not tucked up or other trades coming after you and seeing you're going to say, hey, Sam, what kind of painter did you have here? And you don't want that for your property too. You don't want to just do it because you want to get the job done. It's something that I would recommend having some experience with prior. If you
Right.
work.
Personally, I had experienced landscaping. A lot of times what I would do is I would do my own landscaping instead of going to the gym on a Saturday. I
Nice.
would spend the day at my house, putting in all new flower beds, run over to the nursery, bring out some potted plants, bring out some bushes and what have you to give it a fresh look out front. And the other thing that we can do too as do-it-yourselfers, we could be the house cleaner. So after the trades are done, we can go in there and give it a thorough cleaning. And I had one more thing I learned how to do. My dad taught me how, it was to hang drapery. And now it's like really easy. It used to be that you had these very sophisticated drapes that you had to put up.
Yes.
And now you can get window treatments online on Amazon, what have you, delivered right to your door for a fraction of what they used to cost. And it gives the house like a really nice look to it.
Of course.
And if you're like a young couple and you're either renting or you're going to be buying your first home, that house having the window treatments makes a big difference for the new family, right?
100%. Yeah. And doing things like landscaping, that's when it comes down to breaking budget. And there's definitely an advantage in doing things that you have experience, you know what they're gonna look like. It'll save you money. However, you just don't wanna overkill it by trying to renovate the whole house yourself and not being able to do any of it.
So one of the hard things is when you do hire a general contractor for renovation, there's different levels of experience that even the tradespeople have. So like when you're looking like at a new construction home, more than likely the builders will be hiring what I call 4 or 5-star tradespeople. And when you're dealing with the home renovation, you don't have the hourly rate to pay for a 4 or 5-star tradesperson. So you're looking for really good 3-star people. And so that's one of the benefits that the general contractor has. He has relationship with really good 3-star people. They come in there and do a very nice job. And they're not doing new construction, so we don't have to worry about the technical part of the new construction.
Yeah, 100%. You gotta be, as a general contractor myself, when I'm assessing projects, I have to, in my mind, visual the skill level of the particular trade that needs to be in. There are things, for example, if we are doing some basic bathroom renovations, my plumber who's going to be maybe replacing the faucet does not have to be as skilled as the one who's going to be roughing a 20-unit apartment complex. And because in the end, my goal is to save my investors money, and plumber who's going to be doing 20 apartments charges way more than somebody who can replace a faucet.
So we're going to bring this episode to a close. Sam, once again, I'd like to really thank you for coming out and spending time with us here. And when you see the podcast, there's usually contact information on the site that if you wanted to get some questions answered by professional general contractor like Sam, you can give him a call. And if he's not in your market area, so to speak, Sam potentially may have a referral for you for your market area for somebody you could talk to, right? Because you belong to the association. There's a referral that you can send out. And so take advantage of the people that we post on our website. Most of them are willing to take on questions. And also, if you need help in our market area, then they're willing to come out, take a look at your project and help you with putting together budgets and whatever else that you might need to do. Any more questions that may be something that wasn't addressed in this podcast, feel free to send us an email to info@BRRRthrive.com. It's info@BRRRthrive.com, and we'll answer your questions very quickly. Anyhow, thank you, everybody, and good luck.